Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight, a landmark ruling handed down in the Supreme Court regarding citizenship. Why the Attorney General says his office plans to appeal. A family stuck at sea near Ragged Island. Plus, an American boat captain charged with shooting at officers in the Abaco Keys.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thank you for joining us. I'm Kyle Joachim. Attorney General Carl Bethel says his office will seek leave to appeal a landmark Supreme Court ruling handed down yesterday. Justice Ian Winder has ruled that children born out of wedlock to Bahamian men and foreign women are citizens at birth and do not have to wait until their 18th birthday as stated in the Constitution. Queen's Counsel Wayne Monroe, who is the attorney for the families at the center of the court case, said the ruling changes the game as those children who were deported with their mother must now be returned to the Bahamas.
The court said do not deport them. The order was served at the airport and they deported them nonetheless. Now that may put them at a disadvantage because Miss Pia isn't in the country to be cross-examined by Crown Counsel. So I suppose my proposition would be they put the children and the mother outside the reach of this court, so the only evidence we have is what the daddy say, and that's the best evidence we have.
Justice Winder's ruling focused on whether the reference to the word father in Article 4 of the Constitution is applicable when interpreting Article 6, which says every person born in the Bahamas after July 9th, 1973 shall become a citizen of the Bahamas at the date of his birth if at that date either parent is a citizen of the Bahamas. The Attorney General said the matter is not fully completed, but in his view has sufficient public importance to warrant immediate action. The issue also brought up the 2016 gender equality referendum, which spoke mainly to citizenship and the rights of women, and in some cases men, to pass on the right to their citizenship. Bahamians overwhelmingly voted no.
And people acted in some manners irrationally. As I say, I cannot understand how you could say I could have a son who has a child with a foreigner in the Bahamas and the government can deport my grandchild to another country even if the mother wants the child to stay with me. I don't know if Bahamian people stop and reflect on that.
The Departments of Immigration and Customs are looking into permits reportedly granted to a foreign couple that has been stranded near an uninhabited island in the Bahamas since borders closed in March. This as the Royal Bahamas Defense Force also launches a probe into the matter.
This is the story of Delos, a sailboat adventurizing around the world for the past 10 years.
After over a decade of sailing the world, Brian Trotman, his wife, and baby have found themselves stuck on their boat, SV Delos, just off a key near Ragged Island. After sailing into Bahamian waters in early February, the couple has been moving between their boat and an uninhabited island and fishing after Bahamian borders were closed due to the coronavirus pandemic. In an April 3rd live stream the couple posted to YouTube, Brian and Karen explained why they feel their stay in Bahamian waters must soon come to an end.
But as it starts to get into July 1st, I think, is the official start of the hurricane season. And so the last thing we want to do is be caught between a hurricane and a pandemic. I couldn't think of anything worse.
A link that shows the family's location shows the vessel floating near a key off Ragged Island. When the story broke on BBC, Bahamians took to social media expressing concern over the couple roaming freely near the keys and what permission they were granted. The next day, BBC responded in a thread of tweets saying, the Trotmans have confirmed that they have cleared customs and immigration and were provided with a cruising permit which allows them to be in Bahamian waters. Well, we checked with the Customs Department regarding that permit. Superintendent Tyrone Sands couldn't confirm or deny whether the couple obtained a cruise permit, adding that because of the pandemic, there are a number of vessels just floating in Bahamian waters. However, according to the Trotmans' video, their cruise permit would have expired by now.
Our cruising permit runs out middle of May, and I heard that, sorry, dropped a toy. There we go. I heard that they're not renewing cruising permits because, it's hard for the local, I don't know why.
Immigration Minister Ellsworth Johnson said he is looking into the matter. With limited electricity, the family generates power from a few solar panels on their roof and has their own water filtration system. There was also concern over footage of Trotman catching crawfish. The season ended March 31st. However, according to BBC, the couple would have taken those images in March, as shown in this photo posted to Trotman's Instagram account in March. But as the hurricane season approaches, the couple says all they can do is remain cautious.
We're so isolated, we've really reduced our exposure to the virus. But on the other hand, if we get sick, the con is that we are really isolated and there's no medical care. We're a 3-day sail from the US, a 1-day sail up to Georgetown or Nassau, but I don't really think that we're not betting on getting any help or assistance from anybody but ourselves, so we're just being ultra cautious.
Well, the Department of Immigration is in the process of reviewing hundreds of work permits, according to Immigration Minister Ellsworth Johnson, who said with the number of unemployed Bahamians growing, many work permits will not be renewed.
We know that 50% of the population is unemployed. Some work permits will not be renewed. We have to, where we have fit and proper, competent Bahamians to do the job, they will be given that opportunity to do the job. And so what we've done in the interim, because persons are sheltering in the Bahamas, is the competent authority have extended, annual work permits with the caveat and the understanding that where we have already refused some work permits. Listen, you're a training manager. How many training managers we have in the Bahamas who can do that job now? And so we're going through that process along with labor to do it as humanely possible.
Johnson said the training to build capacity element of the work permits has been lacking.
There's supposed to be a component where you're training to build capacity. So where you find that someone comes in by way of a permit, and at the end of the day you find that they will train 10 Bahamians. Oh, we love this person. He's helping to build capacity in the country. But where you bring someone in and after 10 years, and it should never be that long, you find that he says there's nobody who could acquire this skill, something is wrong. So, but we have to do it in a tactful and meaningful way, because no country can be built without the strategic involvement of the expatriate community.
A 60-year-old Coral Gables man found himself before magistrates today after authorities say he shot at law enforcement officers while in the Abaco Keys. Jared Higgs has more.
Police say the American boat captain had a shotgun in Green Turtle Key and took aim at a police officer and a Defense Force officer. 60-year-old John Tellum was shackled and handcuffed when he was escorted to court in New Providence to face Magistrate Andrew Forbes in his first court appearance since last Friday's incident. Police reported that a boat captain, who appeared to be under the influence, fired at officers after he was told the cost to clear the freight he was carrying. Tellum faced 7 charges in relation to the incident, 2 counts of possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life, with prosecutors alleging that Tellum used his Remington shotgun to endanger the lives of Corporal Glenn Dean and Marine Seaman Keaton Bowleg. Meanwhile, 5 charges deal with ammunition. 3 of them are for possession of ammunition with intent to supply, with prosecutors claiming that the man had 771 rounds of ammunition in his possession. 2 other charges accuse the American citizen of possession of ammunition. Bail could not be considered in the magistrate's court, so Tellum's attorney, Jomo Campbell, made an emergency application in the Supreme Court. The basis of the application was that Tellum was injured during the incident. Tellum is expected to return to court on September 22nd for trial. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
A 36-year-old man was fined $400 after pleading guilty to violating the lockdown. Darren Horton was arrested Sunday night on Blue Hill Road near Town Center Mall. Horton told police he was going to his grandmother's house off Malcolm Road to get medication because the pain from an old gunshot wound was unbearable. After seeing police, Horton ran. He said he ran because he saw 2 men with guns who were not dressed in uniform. He told the court the officers ran him down and beat him badly, resulting in him being hospitalized. When asked why he didn't call 311, he said he called but got no answer. The magistrate told Horton that he could have called any nearby police station to request permission to leave home, adding he had ample time to get whatever he needed before the lockdown. Horton has to pay the fine by Friday or serve 14 days in prison. Well, residents who lost loved ones during Hurricane Dorian should not be afraid to come forward to provide a DNA sample because they are not naturalized, according to Immigration Minister Ellsworth Johnson, who said the government is guided by international best practices. Giorgio Bain has more.
Following the burial of 55 unidentified Hurricane Dorian victims last Friday, Minister of Immigration Ellsworth Johnson told reporters today that non-naturalized residents have no need to fear deportation and encouraged all who may have lost a loved one during the deadly storm to come forward and submit DNA samples.
I want to say to persons that they need not fear that. We're a civilized country, that we would want to identify persons. All life in the Bahamas is precious. And that's why we describe it as one having the sanctity, or, the sanctity of life. Everybody is entitled to it, and we're prepared to protect that.
Johnson said migrants can use the government's actions following the hurricane as an example when persons receive social assistance and shelter despite their status.
Despite legal status, everybody was provided with assistance. Persons were put into shelter, and we did not take cognizance of citizenship or nationality. And so healthcare, food, social services were provided. And so we went through the process, and even in the shelters, to gather the names. Social services did a phenomenal job. And so it's somewhat concerning that persons are saying they're concerned now to come ahead and to identify their relatives, when some of the same persons are coming ahead and utilizing the social services structure.
Johnson said the government is pushing the digitalization process, so a lack of documents will no longer be used as an excuse.
I want to reassure anybody in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas that if they think that there's a relative or who's here, they don't even have to be a part of the COVID-19. Feel free to come forward. What we have done in the Immigration Department, we're forcefully pushing the digitization process. We're tired of hearing a person saying they can't find their documents.
Reporting for R News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
All right, thanks, Giorgio. Still to come, what a financial expert is hoping to hear in tomorrow's budget communication. Plus, a popular pastor doubles down on his criticism of new church service conditions. Stay tuned.
COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a new coronavirus introduced to humans for the first time. It is spread from person to person, mainly through the droplets produced when an infected person speaks, coughs, or sneezes. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby. These droplets are too heavy to travel far in the air. They only travel approximately 1 meter and quickly settle on surfaces. This is the reason person-to-person spread is happening mainly between close contacts. The exact time that the virus can survive on surfaces is not yet known. So it is wise to clean surfaces regularly, particularly in the vicinity of people infected with COVID-19. Hands touch many surfaces, which can be contaminated with the virus. You should therefore avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, since contaminated hands can transfer the virus from the surface to yourself. When coughing or sneezing, cover your mouth and nose with the bend of your elbow or use a disposable tissue. If a tissue is used, discard it immediately into a closed bin. The most effective way to prevent the spread of the new coronavirus is to clean your hands frequently with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. This will eliminate the virus if it is on your hands. Stay healthy and prevent the spread of COVID-19.
Zion Baptist Church senior pastor T.G. Morrison mincing no words as he slammed new conditions outlined for churches interested in holding drive-up services. Morrison, who said the church should have never been closed, insisted the government is misguided. Bertha McDermott reports.
Any government that begins to tell its citizenry that you can't worship or you can't do this, that is no longer a democratic government. That is a government that is flirting with totalitarianism. And that is something that we ought to be very weary of.
Zion Baptist Church Senior Pastor T.G. Morrison is slamming the new protocols laid out by the Office of the Prime Minister, which now permits churches in New Providence to hold drive-up worship services. Morrison says he believes government is misguided and it has no place in the affairs of the church.
If the courtesy is given to the parliamentarians in the Honorable House of Assembly, how in heaven's name those same persons who will not permit me to set the agenda for them, who will not permit me to sit where they're sitting, who will not permit me to cross the bar, how they have the authority to come to this place where I am consecrated to word and sacrament and determine what can or cannot take place in here.
The order stipulates that worship services not exceed an hour. Worshippers must stay in their vehicles, which must be parked 3 feet apart. Additionally, one offering station is allowed, while persons over 65 and those considered high risk have been asked not to attend drive-up services.
That to me is out. To say that the church can only meet for an hour is out. To say that Sunday school cannot be had is out. To bring any kind of structure to the church. Tomorrow, if we live, Parliament is going to be in session. And I'm sure that more than 80 persons are going to be congregating in that building to prepare and whatever.
Morrison came under heavy criticism from the public for his position on the matter. He says he is not interested in the naysayers, asserting his focus is on the gospel. Morrison added that he is embarrassed that other Baptist pastors didn't stand by their convictions.
I am embarrassed that I belong to a faith tradition that did not have the courage, the fortitude to even stand by its own convictions and to use at least its numbers to alter change.
Now, as for Zion Baptist Church, Morrison says they will not be taking part in any parking lot service. He says they will continue online services, noting that the sanctuary will be open on Sunday mornings, allowing those wishing to attend to do so. Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Ahead of tomorrow's 2020-2021 budget communication, one financial expert is weighing in on what should be included in that financial plan. Gowan Bowe said ultimately the government must provide a plan that will set the Bahamas on a course for economic stability and recovery. Jillian Gray reports.
As the government gets set to lay out its 2020 budget communication, financial expert Gowan Bowe said that budget should not only outline how the government expects to spur the economy for this year, but also for years to come.
With the drawbacks from Hurricane Dorian and COVID-19, Bowe said it is expected that the government must borrow to fill the shortfall, but officials must outline how they will manage that debt.
We need to prepare ourselves for an increase in debt, but if I know what you're borrowing for, if I know you have a repayment strategy, if I know you are managing that debt, then it is much easier sell. And so we should be looking at the borrowing being directed at what I'm going to say in the second component that I spoke about, the investment for the future.
On Sunday, the Ministry of Finance said it intends to borrow $252 million from the IMF at an interest rate of 1.054%. Those funds are for Hurricane Dorian and COVID-19 related programs. After already borrowing approximately $936.5 million this fiscal year, Opposition Deputy Chester Cooper said he believes the upcoming budget is going to be brutal on ordinary Bahamians. For Bowe, borrowed funds must be spent as an investment in the future of the Bahamas.
We're not going to be able to repay all of these debts in the next 5 years. And so it needs the long-term debt strategy that says this will get us through, if you will, the turbulent times, and then get us to the other side when we can restructure and, if you will, reschedule payments to a more palatable level.
Bowe added that the government must clearly outline what the cost of these disasters has been.
The budget also needs to present itself in a very clear fashion as to what is normal, what is COVID related, and Dorian related if there's any residual. The reason why I say that is COVID and Dorian are going to be with us for an extended period of time. We need to be able to see what the revenues, expenditure results would have been in the absence of these elements.
Minister of Finance Peter Turnquest said he will be providing an honest take on where the country is in his communication on Wednesday, noting the overall focus is on protecting families, communities, businesses, and stabilizing the economy. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Well, thanks, Jillian. Still to come, a local company turns to face shield production during the pandemic. Stay tuned.
COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a new coronavirus introduced to humans for the first time. It is spread from person to person, mainly through the droplets produced when an infected person speaks, coughs, or sneezes. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby. These droplets are too heavy to travel far in the air. They only travel approximately 1 meter and quickly settle on surfaces. This is the reason person-to-person spread is happening mainly between close contacts. The exact time that the virus can survive on surfaces is not yet known. So it is wise to clean surfaces regularly, particularly in the vicinity of people infected with COVID-19. Hands touch many surfaces, which can be contaminated with the virus. You should therefore avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, since contaminated hands can transfer the virus from the surface to yourself. When coughing or sneezing, cover your mouth and nose with the bend of your elbow or use a disposable tissue. If a tissue is used, discard it immediately into a closed bin. The most effective way to prevent the spread of the new coronavirus is to clean your hands frequently with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. This will eliminate the virus if it is on your hands. Stay healthy and prevent the spread of COVID-19.
You're watching Our News. Welcome back. A local manufacturer forced to get creative during the pandemic, introducing a line of face shields. Jared Higgs reports.
Voila. It's a new product responding to a concerning demand.
I think as long as COVID is around, I think people will need shields.
The father-son team of Ricky and Joshua Nixon usually ply their trade making awnings, other coverings, and specialty furniture. But with the pandemic forcing their business, cover up, to close, face shield production has provided a lifeline to the small manufacturers.
Right now, it's been kind of like all of our business right now.
We spoke to the cover-up team at its factory on Fire Trail Road West. Nixon swears by his design, a one-piece flexible shield with 1-inch foam protection. A Velcro strap is also an upgrade to other products on the market. He says his is more durable than other shields made of harder plastic.
This has no attachment point. This is all one piece, so nothing's ever this isn't gonna, we could pull this, we could pull this, and it'll,
You're not going to
it's strong.
Strength.
Face shields and other personal protective equipment have skyrocketed in demand as concerns over the spread of the coronavirus linger. Under current regulations, wearing masks is mandatory in public spaces, and most businesses mandate the use of hand sanitizer before entering. And as uncertainty over the virus is expected to last into next year, Nixon says he is ready to meet a local demand for more personal protection. He says his price of $20 per shield may be higher than other shields on the market, but he insists that the quality of his product is better.
We feel very, very competitive. We may be a little more expensive than the Chinese shield or from somewhere else, but we're Bahamians, and right now we need to be supporting each other. And maybe you got to spend $3 more, but you're going to help your countryman, and you're going to have a quality shield.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
All right, thanks, Jared. Still to come, a birthday girl celebrates life by giving back. Stay tuned.
COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a new coronavirus introduced to humans for the first time. It is spread from person to person, mainly through the droplets produced when an infected person speaks, coughs, or sneezes. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby. These droplets are too heavy to travel far in the air. They only travel approximately 1 meter and quickly settle on surfaces. This is the reason person-to-person spread is happening mainly between close contacts. The exact time that the virus can survive on surfaces is not yet known. So it is wise to clean surfaces regularly, particularly in the vicinity of people infected with COVID-19. Hands touch many surfaces which can be contaminated with the virus. You should therefore avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, since contaminated hands can transfer the virus from the surface to yourself. When coughing or sneezing, cover your mouth and nose with the bend of your elbow or use a disposable tissue. If a tissue is used, discard it immediately into a closed bin. The most effective way to prevent the spread of the new coronavirus is to clean your hands frequently with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. This will eliminate the virus if it is on your hands. Stay healthy and prevent the spread of COVID-19.
Finally in news tonight, a young woman choosing to celebrate her 22nd birthday by giving out 22 care packages to single moms and young women in need. Jasmine Brown has her story.
Bethel says while she's used to being showered with gifts on her birthday because of the pandemic, this year she decided to do it a lot differently and give to those in need.
I decided because we're in such a rough time where everybody needs to lend a helping hand, and if you're your neighbor's keeper, then maybe somebody will be my keeper. So it goes hand in hand.
Betty Bethel, who is the owner and operator of Addiction Bakery, teamed up with Teen Challenge Bahamas director Eric Fox to give out the 22 food parcels to women in need at the rehab center on Tuesday morning. The young baker, who turns 22 on May 27th, says she hatched the plan to give back just 72 hours ago.
I decided to do 22 bags for my 22 years.
Bethel added that she also saw a great need to give back due to the COVID-19 pandemic that has wreaked havoc on the local economy and left thousands of people out of work. Fox says her generous donation comes at a time when more people are reaching out for help.
I was really encouraged with Teddy today. She called me, said, boy, days tomorrow, and she'd like to put together 22 packages if I could help her facilitate that. And I had these ladies been calling on me all week. My phone is ringing off the hook. You know, they have needs. They got children, and they need water, they need food, and a lot of them has been laid off. They're not working.
Those who received care packages today say the last few months have been rough, and they need all the help they can get. Like Karen Williams, who says she had learned to make a little go a long way.
That's a blessing. She's a blessing to people. To deliver 22 bags is really a blessing.
Bethel says this will not be her last give back. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Thank you for joining us for Avenues tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Kyle Joaquin. Remember, you can catch Avenues on the go with the Revco Play app. Have a good Tuesday evening, Bahamas.